Hi, guys. Welcome to the Sweet Release Healing Roundtable podcast, Sharon's brainchild. So we can all thank Sharon for this, for bringing us together and for starting this. So in typical Sweet Release Healing style, we sometimes fly by the seat of our pants. So after this one, we'll start getting more of our topics together, and we will have like a vase or something pretty or cute, or a box or something that we can just pull a topic out. But for tonight I went to everyone who was on TikTok Live, and what we got was the start off point. Do spirits have emotions on the other side? What do we think? I say yes and no. I'm going to lean on no. I'm going to lean on yes, they have the good ones, but not the shitty human ones.
I feel like they still do, like if they're newly passed, right? They're still going to have the residual human tendencies. So, but I feel like the longer it's been since they passed, those go away. They let go of those dissipate. So yes and no.
Can I ask a little bit deeper? What are the shitty human emotions that we're talking about? The good ones.
Frustration.
I think they feel frustration.
I
frustration.
I feel like
we've all felt frustration from them before, right? Like,
Yes.
So what would the definitions be?
But I mean, like greed, even like, I don't want to say, jealousy. Sometimes people say lust, but I think lust is very human, because I don't see spirit being like very like that. Definitely in the different mattery places. But yeah, like greed, anger, spite.
That's a good one.
Vengeful.
Sadness, not like true, like deep grief sadness. I know that I've seen them be a little sad before, though, but just like surfacey sad.
I think in my logic brain, it kind of goes to, well, what's the whole point of all of doing this, of coming to Earth and learning these lessons, than to feel these emotions and take them back with you? Maybe not feel them to the extent like we do here, but even having the remembrance of, oh my God, I was a shitty person at one point. Let's not do that again.
I mean, that's valid. When I've been channeling before, it's almost like they put the mask of that feeling in front so that the people I'm translating to know what I'm talking about. But then all of a sudden it dissipates. And I'm like, just happened. Now, to piggyback on what Kaylee was saying, I have definitely seen it too, where the newly passed have more human-y tendencies and traits than those who've been passed longer and are choosing not to reincarnate again.
And that's
what about
sorry. It's coming from the place where like everything's confusing at first to some of them. And so they're like, what am I doing? Like but once they start to understand what's happened or move on from that, then they kind of just accept it.
Mm.
And then those emotions are not relevant anymore.
I could see that. Andres on the chat made a comment that says, I think they can feel sad or frustrated, but they don't hold them like we do. It passes through them.
Jessica, I think I would second and third that one. Yeah.
Jessica.
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say, I feel like the ancestors and the corporeals do, but the non-corporeals are just like, I don't know what that is. Yeah, I'm a little frustrated with you, but all that other stuff, I don't got any idea what you're talking about. Period.
Sharon, can you say that again? Missed it.
Corporeals would have no reference to the human emotions they've did.
I mean, she's got a really great point there, because I've seen non-corporeals just be like, why are you doing that? Like, you won't get it until you've actually lived through it. Like, you know how you try to tell a joke and you try to tell it afterwards and everyone's like, yeah, cool joke. And it's just looking at you like you're stupid. I feel like that talking to the non-corporeals. And on the piggyback of that, how many of us are like personally victimized by them when they're like, you never talk to us? I get it all the time. And I'm like, I don't know what to talk to you about. Like, thanks, bro. I miss you too. Bring up a topic. It's not just about me.
Are you going to give me the lottery numbers?
I also think, like, as humans, we're taught from a young age the feelings to learn a lesson through them, right? Like, how did that make you feel when so and so hit you, right? And so a lot of our lessons have been tied to those feelings and emotions. And if they've never had to learn those, have those hard problems of getting hit and making you think about those feelings, like, there's no need for them, right? But I feel like the amount of time I've felt love, right, and support and caring and that kind of stuff has been some of the strongest lessons that I've received. So it's like, I think they, like you were saying, they do understand the good ones, because they recognize that that's how a lot of us learn, and from our mistakes, or from caring for each other and that kind of stuff, or moving us further in our purpose. So maybe not fear, but forcing lessons, maybe.
And then those positive emotions are also higher vibrational. So if they are, it closes the gap between us a little bit better versus the lower vibrational greed, jealousy, lust, anger, resentment, those kinds of things.
I could see that. Oh, Tiffany's thinking.
Now you got to say it.
So I have like a little gitch about considering, some emotions negative, as even though they're viewed as negative, they're very valid and should be experienced and accepted. So in certain circumstances, I absolutely believe that standing in your truth and standing up for yourself and even being rage filled is still a higher vibrational act to bring you up and experience those lessons and kind of stand in your power.
I could see that as like letting something go, as feeling your emotions to let it go with purpose, as opposed to like, I'm rage filled, so I'm gonna go harm people and break things.
Right.
I could
There's
see
definitely a time and a place.
I would also add that it's also an experience of being here on Earth. That's how we've learned to navigate through these issues that might not occur to the non-corporeals.
that's a very valid point too. Go Shirley. So that brings us a little down the line to people who say negative entities, vengeful ghosts, spirits that are trying to hurt them, things that are super scary and attacking them. That brings Tiffany. I can't say with a straight face watching Tiffany. I can't. What do we think about that? You've been quiet, Tate. Feel free to jump in.
I think with that one, the one before, I think that they understand our emotions to allow us to have a human experience. I don't necessarily think that they feel all of them, but they use them sometimes just to relate to us so that we know what's going on. But with this one, I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of stuff before this awakening. Didn't know what it was, but I have never been hurt by anything I've ever seen before, even when I was afraid of it before now. So I don't get that still. Even then, I didn't quite understand why people were so terrified or afraid of the things that they saw or that they heard, or those. I don't view them as bad. Like, maybe, I don't know what it is, because it's all kind of new. lost or caught up in something, or I don't know what it is, but not bad or negative, or that's it.
I
That's
think
all.
that comes down to stories passed down, what Hollywood has done to
Yeah.
spirituality, fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
We have preconceived notions of things. We don't know what it is. Oh my God, we have to be afraid.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
there's also some people who might not have knowledge that they're able to have more power over that. So they feel that that's stronger than them, therefore it's scary and get away from it.
I think what I've heard from spirit when I've said, like, can you help me understand what this is? Can you show me how people are experiencing this and where it comes from? And what they have said is that there's nothing in spirit world that can hurt you, nothing at all. But that doesn't mean that there's quote unquote entities on this planet, on this plane of existence, that have been born of people's bad choices, bad decisions. And normally that just lets energy go. But sometimes that energy, it almost looks like a little ribbon. And it's so weird because it just looks like a little ribbon that floats off. It's not born of creator, it's not born of Gaia. It's born of emotion, which means it doesn't have full consciousness. So you have way more control over it than it could ever have over you. But because it's scary and it's unknown, we tend to lean in and make it a reality. We feed it and we give it permission to interact with us in a plane of existence it only understands from its vibration. So if its vibration and everything that exists on that is like fear, pain inducing, scratches, all that fun stuff, fun, it makes it a reality. Agree? Disagree? What do we think?
Agree. Totally agree.
I agree.
The
Yeah.
humans have the power to manifest a whole lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with Sharon.
She's right. I mean, humans do have the power to manifest a ton. Because if we think about it, we pass by these lower entities so often in a day and we don't even pay attention to them. But it's when our defenses are down or we're tired or we're at the end of a day that they start to come up, especially at night. Things go bump in the night. There's things in the night that'll hurt you and scare you. I mean, we feel like this since we're kids. We're afraid of the dark all the time. I think every single human being has gone through that at least once. I know I have. And I think it makes sense from my perspective and what spirit tells me, but I'm really interested in what spirit tells you guys about this. So somebody even said, so where are the scratches from? So let's say this, somebody has chosen to have this experience through paying it attention. Of course, we're not going to consciously be like, yes, terrify the shit out of me. That sounds like fun. I'm bored on a Wednesday night. Sounds like a great activity for a Tuesday. Of course, nobody's going to consciously say that, but subconsciously, unconsciously feeding it. So where do the scratches come from?
Miasma is the first word that comes to mind. Around people that are just icky. They feel like gooey, nasty, toxic tar is rolling off of them all the time. And I don't know if that's the answer, but that's the first word. That's what comes to mind when I think of these things.
I can see that. I see him tar-like too. I do see him tar-like as well. So come on, readers, tap in. Where do the scratches come from then?
Leftover goo, the smoke monster from Fern Gully.
What are you saying, Tiffany?
All right. So I was trying real hard to be quiet because you all know this is a hot button issue for me. So I have a different perspective. It goes back to there being a polarity rather than a good and an evil. It's a positive pull and a negative push. So to me, the scratches would actually be a physical manifestation of you being pushed more towards your path. You're doing something that you've gotten off track and you need like a wow factor to come and hit you and get back on it.
And that's a roll of the dice for spirit too, because some people go, nope, that happened, and they shut the book on it and they're like, fuck this, I'm out of here. That's a real roll of the dice. That's like a desperation move for spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with you on that one. I don't think that that's that controversial. I agree with you on that one.
And I think spirit knows when to play that card because, I mean, take a lot of the tragedies we experience in humanity. The first thing that happens after mass casualty events, candlelight vigils, right? People come together, they support their communities. Something as terrible, as a teen that died in a car accident. Again, the whole community comes together to support those people. It's a tragic way for them to get attention and push you together as community and push you more into a spiritually inclined path.
Yeah.
When it comes to coaching, like any kind of coaching, you can't make that real change until someone has experienced that big slap. So it's like the teen dying, but it's going to be different for each person, right? Like for me personally, it's like my brother dying. That has been a big push for me in a direction, and that was very grief oriented, but it was that push that I needed that pushed me over, right? So I can totally see where you're coming from, is that's kind of the slap, the the big push.
I think that's one of the hardest parts about being human, is not seeing that from the spirit perspective either, because we just sit in the grief, the pain, and we can't see out of it. And then, of course, one of the things we're always warned about is not to view spirit from a human perspective, because it's not going to compute. It's going to be like me and technology. It's kind of a little bit understanding, but it's really going to pull you apart.
Yeah.
There's so much complexity in the background that we just can't understand as much as we try. We think that we get part of the picture, and it's like not even scratching the surface really of that.
Completely agree. Completely and utterly agree. Sometimes, because spirit sees bigger perspective and they don't exist in time, they see time like a sphere, and it's probabilities. It's, if they take this path, this is how it's going to go, and this path, this is how it's going to go. And there's all those options laid out in front of them, and they have access to them all the time. And because on this plane of existence, we're at a lower consciousness. It just is. It's not a fault of ours, but we're in it, and now we have to deal with it. It's what do we do next with this, and how do we get to the higher consciousness, knowing that we only have part of the picture, we can't see all of it, and we're in a system where lower energies and casualties and mass horribleness drive us to spirituality. When are we going to get to a point where we just find our spirituality without having to hit rock bottom? Now,
That's the question.
I don't think we do. Humanity gets too bored when things are peaceful, when things are easy. We always are looking for some sort of tragedy to make us feel something. We can't just exist in happiness and peace.
and something
I feel like it's the point of this existence. That's what this was built for, is so that is how we were to learn.
Yeah. Learn how to get back.
I mean, there would be no point in being here if we didn't need some kind of a tragedy or an outlying factor to push us towards it. there wouldn't be a point of living this one, like choosing to come and do this. That's from my perspective is what I
And conversely, bliss, right? So like the highs don't last any longer than the lows do. And it's those moments of joy and elation that also gather us, but with different intent and interaction. It takes both ends of that spectrum to jolt back sort of together sometimes.
I like where Jenny's going with that. It takes both, I think. I think you're going to have both. I mean, we can't get away from either one of them. It just depends on which one you listen to the most. If you listen to the joy the most, you'll follow that route back to spirit. And if you listen to the other the most, you're going to be pushed back to it, I think, in that sense. Where it's like you have a choice. You can take this side or take that side, and you're going to have to learn both. But it depends on which one you want to do. And if you want to play on this side, which I played on that side, and you got pushed on this side. So you can kind of pick, I guess, or that's how I see it.
No, I completely agree because we know
that was uncomfortable.
Ma'am.
well, I know spirit will pay attention to what you're paying attention to. So I think that that's perfectly valid. If you're paying attention to the lowest of the low, and that's the line you keep choosing, they have no choice but to play your game.
Mm-hmm.
And like Shirley put in the chat, we're playing checkers and spirit is playing chess. And Mackenzie had written in the TikTok chat that can you really experience high vibrations if you've never felt the low?
It's almost kind of like spirits playing the electrician. You need the positive and the negative, and they put them together and
Yeah.
gonna knock you back in.
Yeah.
I also think this kind of, not to change the subject, but brings us back to the very first question.
Does spirit have emotions on the other side like we do here? No. Really not. Because if they did, and I see where Tiffany's driving this, you can feel free to drive it or I can talk because we all know I can talk.
Tiffany, take it. Take it, Tiffany.
Take it, Tiffany. Take us home. She locked her mouth. Are you shitting me right now? For why? Like now you're going to be quiet? That doesn't make any sense. Like this is the time. It's a podcast. It's not a silent cast. This is not ASMR. Like I don't.
I can go. So I asked like what's the purpose of you having emotions or knowing emotions? And it's tools. Kind of like what Spencer was saying, like the parent would ask the child, how does that make you feel? Humans they run off of emotions. Like that's how we experience our world and so they wouldn't have a way to relate to us or to show us what we need to know if they didn't have them. They just don't dwell in them, but they can convey them to us so in a way that we would understand.
So kind of like a second or a third or a 15th language.
Yeah.
Like Andrea said, they wear that mask.
Nice. When you said the electric jolt, I heard the phrase, to get your head out of your ass. And so I was like, oh. So it's also the jolt to get the ego out of the way. And they were like, I mean, you can say that if you want to, but that's not what I said. So
I think that, and this is my human-y part, logically putting this together, is if spirit did feel the full gambit of emotions that a human feels on a daily basis, one, I think they would stop the human experiment eventually. Everyone would be like, this is too much. We can't keep doing this. And they wouldn't keep like restarting like Pompeii, like the fall of Atlantis. Like they wouldn't keep restarting humanity for the purpose of continuing this experiment of what do you do when humanity is separate from spirit and how do they get back? Because, I've said this before. we have the human, which is born of Gaia. And then we have the spirit inside that animates and integrates with the human. And when they're integrated, it's the human being. We have the human, we have the spiritual being, we have the human being. And being human being, truly integrated human being, means to love unconditionally. It doesn't mean to hate unconditionally or greed unconditionally or take from other people and act selfishly. It means to love unconditionally and see what that actually really is and feels like. And, you know, one of the funny things lately is I've said to Spirit, like, okay, what does it actually mean to love unconditionally then? Because obviously in a human body, we can only understand a small portion of that. And they said it's to mind your own business. To first start by minding your own business, like eyes on your own paper, look at your own plate. And if everybody looks at their own plate, they start making choices about what they actually need. And since everybody's making choices about what they actually need, the understanding that resources are unlimited dawns. And there's no more squabbling or greed because we're not worried about somebody else having what we want. All we're focused on is our own business and saying, this is what I want. This is
mindful awareness of you.
That really resonates because there's been a long time that I've just been, why can't people just focus on themselves? Why are they always going after others who aren't affecting them in their life? Why can't they just deal with themselves, fix themselves first?
I tell that phrase to my kids every day, and their issue is they're trying not to get or have the other kid get in trouble. And it's kind of like, I don't know, I have this issue. I worry about what other people are doing so they don't get in trouble. And I have to tell myself every day, worry about yourself.
I do this when I'm driving all the time. Like if somebody tailgates me and then they all of a sudden back off, I'm like, I'm looking in the rear view. Are you okay? Are you okay? Like, are they all right? Like, why are they tailgating? Do they need me to pull over and go around, or can I just scream at them and be an asshole? Because road rage is real with me. But I'm worried about them at the same time.
By that.
Meanwhile, are my eyes on the road? No, I'm freaking serpentine, and that's not good. Thank the gods for lane assist, though. That's all I'm gonna say about that one. Wouldn't it be great if we had lane assist in our own lives?
Yeah.
Spirit jerks the wheel, like focus forward.
Yeah, those are those course corrections.
Right. Yeah,
we have that.
She's not wrong. She's like, you do have lane assist and course corrections. You have death, poverty.
The ringing in the ear is them signaling we're getting too close to the other lane.
Yeah, right. They're like, focus.
Yeah, surely that.
Oh, someone else says, you do. It's called astrology. And first, I love freaking Sterling. Can we just like, how happy are we first of all, for Carlene joining? Like, she's not on here for this one, but how thankful are we for Carlene joining the Sweet Release Healing group family? We're going to go family because we all are a very big family now. Sterling said, that spirit just told me that's what we're trying to do. They're like, we're trying to talk to you about your soul's extended warranty. What's this with you? Turn your fucking lane assist on.
If that's really what they were trying to do, they would figure out a way to like get rid of those calls. Because that is why we're ignoring them. Like, come on, let's get rid of those calls in the human life so we can not be annoyed when the spirit calls us. Like, come on.
Spirit spammers. Is that
right?
But Spencer, that's a heck of an analogy, right? Like, how many other spammer things to grab our attention all day long, and then we just disregard everything because we're so inundated with that one thing.
Oof.
Yeah.
Hence the teaching hours.
There's those
midnight and 5 a.m. We're all like,
there's
cool,
those signier signs.
Right? Here's the sign of your signs.
I don't know. I ignore those spam calls in the morning. I just go back to bed.
Yeah, maybe spirit can have like possible spam incoming, like Little notifications. I don't know.
Or those
You wish to accept notification.
yeah, or special ringtone like and somebody over my shoulder. Somebody over my shoulder was like, I don't know why you haven't asked for a special ringtone. What are you waiting on?
I was just gonna say that. I was like, what I'm pretty sure you could like talk to them and say, hey, if this is gonna be something, like do something, tap my hand or give me a sensation somewhere or ringing in this ear before that happens. Like, so like, hey, some bullshit's coming your way.
But how much
How are you
time do
gonna
we
deal with
spend
it?
telling them that we don't want ringing in the
Yeah.
You can't not want it and then ask for it as a sign.
They're probably sitting
Make
there
up your
going,
mind, people.
can you imagine those poor spirits on the other side must be like, these humans just pick a fucking lane. Like, you yell at us, you want it this way, we give it to you this way, and you just yell at us, we fix it and you yell at us. Like, pick a lane.
You wanted lane assist, and now you're switching lanes all over the place.
Exactly. So
You should know I'm a Gemini. I change my mind all the time.
We
Libra.
can't help being toddlers.
Pisces, I have no idea what's going on anymore.
Oh, jeez. Michelle Mayhem and TikTok said, only Spencer. Only Spencer.
Well, I'm over here being like, can you like caress my beard when you need to talk to me or something? Like, just a gentle caress.
I need something to make me feel safe. Yeah, and then who just said that? Don't touch me. Like, pick a lane, humans. Pick a fucking lane.
I dreamed 2 nights ago. I've been really busybody in the middle of the night because I was like, look, I gotta sleep. You gotta leave me alone. Well, if a couple nights ago, somebody took me by the shoulders and was like, you have to be selfish and you have to rest tomorrow. Like, you have to sleep. You have to get rest on Sunday. And so then I wake up and did I do that? Absolutely not. Was today hell on wheels? Absolutely. And so it's that same thing. It's like, I don't know what else I can do for you. Could you please just follow literally any instruction or literally?
We really are all toddlers.
We are. We
We can't
really
be bothered to listen to anything.
You know, I was talking to Brittany the other day on our Discord. She brought up a very, very valid point that sticks right with this is don't tell me what to do. I'm an adult-ish. I've worked really hard to get where I am. And spirits in her ear going, you need to do this and you need to do that. We told you about this. We told you about that. And then they've recently flipped something in her life to, there's your guardrails, right? There's your lane assist. And it's like, no, bitch, we're going this way. How are we going to keep bringing spirit into our everyday lives if we're just going to have big tete-a-tete fighting back and forth with them and like just brow to brow standoffs?
We think we know what we want, and then we get it. And we're like, this wasn't what I wanted.
How many of you would actually, if a djinn materialized in front of you right now, would genuinely make a request or make a wish? Would you?
No.
Absolutely, I would not.
No. No, because I'd be like, I heard from Hollywood that you're a fucking trickster, and I trust what I saw on TV first.
Well, even the literature and the folklore, like if you look into it at all, my absolute fear is I want to jump higher. Okay, great. Now you're a frog.
Dude,
Because
I'm
I'm
taking my chances with it.
conditioning my way out of it.
Which is so funny because we all know damn well logically spirit doesn't work like that. We know that. We've talked to our entourage before. We've talked to our highest self and spirit guides. We know that they tell us just ask and we're going to bring it to you. Now, yeah, it's maybe not going to be exactly as you thought it was, but it's not going to be as bad as I want to jump higher and now suddenly you're a frog. It's just more like, okay, well, now we're going to put trainers in your place that are going to get you there. And we sit there complaining, going, I don't want to go to the gym, though.
Also add that it doesn't always come in our timeline either.
Oh, yeah.
Hate that shit.
Uh,
Yep.
mhm.
You tell me that
one
you're
of those.
but it's going to take 3 more years to get there. Are you helping me with this? Really?
No, seriously. Shirley and
COVID.
I had this conversation the other day because so we know serially single, and they brought up the whole love thing, and I made a crack at them that like, yeah, you guys have been dangling that carrot in front of me for like over a year now. Like, I'll believe it when you actually provide it. And I love, if you've never talked to Shirley's spirits, you need to, because they're so fucking funny. They were like, better than 80 years though, isn't it? And I was like, see, this is how I know y'all don't understand human life, right here. This is how I know you're talking to a non-corporeal being, because they're like, they don't understand the fact that like 80 years from now, I'm gonna be dead, most likely. But also,
Andrea serial dating the nursing home.
oh Jesus, right? Yeah, can you just see me? I just hope I have all my teeth.
Yeah.
I will. I'll be like, you want to share a juice box and some Jello? It's gonna be great.
And Sharon over in the corner, like, I told her.
I sit here.
If that line would work now.
All right. I want to bring us, we have like 15 minutes left. So, on the heels of this, do spirits have emotions in the first place? Talking about vengeful spirits and ghosts and things like that. And we brought it full circle, right? Now, we know that quite often spirit comes through with love. And they're like, we just love you so much. And it's like, yeah. Thank you. Can I please have like Haley saying the lottery numbers? I would appreciate that. That's how you can love me. I'm a gifter. You can love me with gifts. I prefer that. Amex and MasterCard will be perfect for me. But with them coming through with love, but is love even an emotion or a feeling or something else? If we know, essentially logically, going down it, that love is the way that they come through, but spirit really doesn't experience emotions like we humans do. Is love an emotion? Is it a feeling, or is it something else? I love how
Vibration.
they're like, no. As I'm asking the questions.
It's probably their state of being, their automatic state of being.
Oh, I got
It's-
chills on that one. Oh,
Yes, same, me too.
Oh, I was
It's-
gonna say, I feel like it's just the soul.
I feel like when spirit is coming through saying, we love you, we just love you, with gushy feelings all over the place, that is an extension of our human understanding that they push through for us so that we know we are valued and loved.
I feel kind of like almost like it's like the universal law. Like, not necessarily like you have to do this, but it's just how it is. Like gravity works on Earth. The universe is run off of love, and
I think it's where everybody came from. We all came from love. It is literally the power, the energetic signature of what all of our souls and all of the spiritual beings were born from. And the only way that our little human minds can think of it is to put a label on it, like we label everything else.
Yeah, I was gonna say that too. I was like, it's not necessarily that it is love, but we have to be able to identify it. We have to be able to put something behind it so that we can grasp the concept.
I'm glad you guys are better with words than I am, because yes, the vibration of that.
And it's something that if that's where we came from, we all have in common. So it's really easy to connect to because it's already something that we both have experienced. The corporeals, the non-corporeals, the off-worlders, we all have experienced this one state of being. So it's that thing, it's that spark that will jolt between.
You think?
A little bit difference on that. I've always just kind of felt of it as like a power and kind of like a human development type of thing. We know that there's different things that fall under love, and like it can be like physical touch and intimacy and all those different things, right? But we know that people who grow up with the lack of love may not have that early touch as a child, and that the importance that we know as a human development side of things. They struggle. They struggle with basic human needs and wants and all that stuff. It's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. They don't go very high on it, and it's based off of the lack of that love at an early age. And I've just always kind of thought of it as a power in a way, because as soon as those kids get into a home or into a relationship where that true love is felt and that unconditional love is felt, that's when they start to thrive and grow in all aspects of their life.
They do, Spencer. Like I have to say with that, I go by that all the time with these kids here. And if you can just love them as they are, you can send them anywhere. But sometimes you're right. Sometimes they don't know how to translate that because they've never had it. And that's kind of like, for me, what it is. Like, we call it love, we say it's love, but we all know what that feeling is. But that comes from the light for me. We all know what that is. And you can recognize it within anyone. And kids, like, they can recognize that within people and each other. And you're right. If they don't get that foundation, they have a hard time with that.
That can transfer over to adulthood as well, though.
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Love
Yeah.
in the human body can be so freaking conditional.
Yeah. It can be sometimes.
What I find really interesting in this is, have you ever heard of Matthias De Stefano? He's a speaker. He's often on the Gaia Network, and he does a show called Initiation, which I tripped and fell into and absolutely adore. I literally don't watch anything at all on the Gaia Network, and his popped into my space over and over and over again. And I watched it, and then I lost interest in it. And Spirit was like, because you got the lesson, you're good here, which we all know that they work like that. But one of the things he was talking about are the different chakra systems and the law of the universe. The universal law is love, that everything is love. It all came from love, and it's all made from love, that love is the greatest power and energy available all through all the dimensionalities. And one thing he was saying that I found really fascinating is that when that universal law is applied to a third dimensional being like a human, it's broken into 7 so that it is truly experienced, because it is so big, it can't fit in the human body in its own. Hence the 7 chakras. And they all have their own levels and pieces of that law. And actually, if I can find it on my computer really quickly, I found
the PowerPoint.
It's yeah, I gave it to Tiffany too. So it says, like, the root chakra is generation, that we have to create new stuff because we are creators in blood and body, but we create, we don't destroy. So now we have the creator energy as the base. You are a creator. You're using the energies and the forces of the universe. And then we have polarity next. You're using those forces of polarity, that it's not a bad thing. It's not good versus evil, because good versus evil is a human construct. It's, do I live in polarity as a creation or as a separation? It's the acknowledgement that we are separated from spirit, and what does it take to get back? Then we have the solar plexus, which is cause and effect. And I love this one because it's essentially the law of responsibility. It's saying, I am the cause of everything that affects me in my life. And when we talked earlier about focus on your own plate and spirit constantly telling you, like, focus inward, I feel like that's the one that a lot of us are being told to function from right now, is that I am the cause of everything that affects me in life. Like, yeah, things come at us, but it's our responsibility to react and respond a certain way. Then we have, like, the heart is the rhythm at which things unfold. We have the throat, which is the vibration that says, I speak in truth and love, and what I mean to say is what I am actually saying. We have the third eye, that everything that is within you is outside of you. And then we have the crown, that is what you think about yourself, you essentially become. It's how we view ourselves. I find that super fascinating that the law of love, when separated in a human body, is all about focusing on yourself. None of those things said, do unto others, look out for your neighbor, be greedy, be jealous. None of that is brought up at all. All of those laws are constantly about the aspects of humanity and being a human. And it's almost like, like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's like the human's guide to being spirit and understanding it. What do we think? Spencer, thumbs up. So poignant. So Spencer's like, I already made a
Eloquent.
point for the evening, and that's all. I have one big point a day in here, and that's what I do.
And
I'm a male. Like you got, we all know that I'm like less tied in than the rest of y'all. So I've used up my channeling. It's gone.
Honestly, that was really insightful because during this talk, I was wanting to ask, like, the capacity to feel love between the human body and its soul. And I felt like the soul can hold it better, but the body isn't able to. So there should be something the body can do to at least feel some measure of it. So that was really,
It's the second
yeah,
time
that really helped.
full body chills. The fucking second time. Oh, I'm looking forward to. You know what though? That's a salt bath thought. That's not a in my human body thought. That's a salt bath because it's already given me like a headache thinking about it up here, where it's like my brain just expanded and it's gonna push out of my head now. Oh, that was
Can you drop that in the show notes so we all can take a peek at it?
Yes.
Wait,
would
which
like-
one? What are you talking about, Shirley?
The chakras.
Oh,
The-
yeah.
Yeah, actually, you have an iPhone, don't you?
Yeah.
I can just share it off my notes. 100% easy cheese. Because I will tell you, when that came up on that show, I was pausing and I was using talk to text at the same time because I was like, I need to keep that note. That's right. You know how you like trip and fall into stuff and somebody speaks the song of your soul. They're saying the things that you remember.
Yep.
That's exactly how I felt with that guy. I was like, oh, by the way, if you like Atlantis, listen to him. Dude remembers like all of
okay,
Atlantis.
so you need to drop it. You
His
can
name.
drop it on all the socials and the show notes, all of the things so that we can all have access to it.
I was gonna make it pretty in Canva, but I kept getting distracted. I know we're very shocked that I got distracted.
Me and
Sorry.
Can I pose a question to like I guess everybody here? So when you connected with your spirit guides for the first time and you were able to feel that unconditional love that maybe you haven't ever experienced in your whole life, how was that for you? And was that your experience?
Oh, sorry. That's all the time we have. No, I'm just kidding.
Yuki.
for me, it was like my heart would explode. Like in my human mind, love is very conditional. So to feel something that did feel unconditional, too big. Too big.
I wept. Like I felt like every emotion rolled through me.
I did too. You watched me do it.
Literal definition of
Rosie.
overwhelming.
Oof. Overwhelming is a great way to say it.
But it was such a good overwhelming though.
Yes.
It was it's different, you know.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Michelle in TikTok chat said physically was shaking and crying. It was like a trauma release. And Mermaid Soul 8 is saying I cried like a baby just realizing that I was loved and valued. Yeah, because being a human is
Hey, somebody wants you to answer the question too.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I said
Your turn,
Tuki,
Tate.
because like the trauma release made my stomach churn, and I was like, ugh.
That's not fun.
Are you talking to me, Sharon?
Yeah, somebody
What'd
in
you
the
say?
chat was asking for your response to that.
Baby sister.
Sisters.
Wept. Like I really, yeah, squalled my little eyes out. But it was worth it. It was really, really overwhelming. But I just sobbed, but in a good way, like just complete release.
I think that changes you too. That experience, I know that experience
Yeah.
changed me. Because like I had it little pieces through life and I kind of like went through like, they love me, da da da. But when it really came in this one time that I really opened myself up, and it was actually in front of my cousin. She was asking me to channel somebody years ago. And I did, but what he brought through, like it was like a hole, like there was a tear. And my cousin's husband came through, but he left the hole open. And all of that light that came shining in felt like it went right to my heart space. And it was like through my back, shining out of the front. And I just, like everybody else here saying, wept and cried like crazy. But it changed things for me a lot. Because I was like, holy fucker nutters, if they feel like that about me and I just got a little bit of it, I must be pretty fucking cool. And why am I doubting myself? It helps me so much with like imposter syndrome and the unbalanced ego and like when certain exes were trying to make me believe I wasn't good enough. It really helped me.
I think for me, it was the confirmation, Phil, that I remember the most of like, hey, this is real, right? Like, now believe it. You got to believe it yourself now. Like, take it. Like, and that confirmation was finally just kind of what I've been looking for my whole life, right? And then kind of with Sharon, where the conditional love thing was a very real part of my life. And there was just a confirmation of like, that's not normal. That's not how it is. And this is how it is. And this is how it will continue to be. And like, I just need, like, I almost crave that feeling still. Like I look for that love feeling again. Like every time I think that's what I'm searching for is like that confirmation every single time I find something new of like, hey, you're moving again. You're moving in your right path again. And I get that, like, it's almost like an addiction to it, right? Like, oh, there it is.
The dopamine hit.
Yeah. And it's almost like it's just because it's not human, right? Like there's that side of not human love that just hits you and you're like, kind of breathe a little bit easier and then you're back into your boring body again.
So just so you guys all know, right now, as soon as we started talking about this, it started pouring, and it's the perfect weather for rainbows. Like the sun is just setting
Some of that down here
perfectly. It's just like, oh, that just fits.
I love that. Now, we're going to have comments from people, but how did you do it? You know that's where it's going to be, but how? And we hear this a lot. But how? How do you do it? How did you do
I
it?
think this ties into the good reason of why Andrea tells us all to go from the heart space. Because it ties directly into that power of love that they send down and is the strongest, organ, chakra, energy field, whatever you want to call that area, to really communicate with them and
It's
communicate
the
with
Grand
them
Central
clearly.
Station.
Exactly.
And I'll tell, my first experience was through a void meditation with you, Andrea, that was probably a year ago. And it was drop into your heart space. And then you explored what dropping into your heart space looks like. And then we stayed there for a little while. And when that, because I'm so literal, that I dropped into my heart like Mrs. Frizzle. And when the door opened and it was endless shapes, I lost it. I don't remember anything else that happened. And I'm snot crying and I can't turn my video off. Was anybody else there? It was wild. She opens up, we're all done, and she's like, did I break all of you? And it was incredible. So
I was in that one.
yeah,
Like-
it was woof. But what happened is it like broke the rust off the hinges. And so dropping into my heart space and opening that door is now second nature. Because I had all of the human conditioning of Hollywood and of media that I thought it had to be this gigantic production. Everything had to be a huge ritual. It had to be a huge this or that. It had to be a big thing, when I didn't realize everything I was already doing was already it. And so I blocked my own path. And that void meditation, what I even said not 6 months ago, ooh, I don't play in the void. That's scary. And that void meditation, it legitimately opened the door to a brand new realm of existence for me. So if somebody's going, but how? I don't know. Great, that's fine. It's okay that you don't know. There's resources here. She's got void meditations all the time. You do them in your lives. Like, I'm not plugging you, but I will forever be so thankful for that singular experience, because it taught me how to step in my own power and access those resources.
I know, I'll do another one soon. I promise. I think we're doing Cave of Creation next, but Sharon actually said the same thing. She was like, we need another void one. Everybody loves that. And it is always different because spirit has control of it. I just say, okay, where are we taking everybody today? And let them do it. Because there's a lot of people on TikTok saying, what is that?
Yeah, it's freaking amazing is what it
Alex
is.
is saying it made her tears, making her eyes tear up. And Carlene, to you, Tiffany, was like, thank you, I needed that. It was like crying emojis. Everybody's going, yep, I need a void meditation. They're all doing it right now. I need a void meditation.
That is probably one of the most often rewatched recordings that I have from any of the sessions. Is if I'm feeling shitty or I need to pick me up, I pull up the void meditation and I sit in my room and just do it.
Yay. I love that. Thank you, guys. I love that. I love hearing your experience with spirit, though, because, spirit is for every day. Spirit's for every decision of our lives. It's not just for special occasions, it's not like the fine china. It's, what time am I going to the DMV today? Do I grab this tomato or am I going for zucchinis this week? I bring them into every decision I make through the day, and it makes my life fun and enriching and beautiful. And I feel like we were talking about that love all the time, which is so nice for my ego boost, like the balanced ego.
I wanted to bring something up that she said, that she's been doing this the entire time. She just didn't realize it. Like, that's kind of how meditation is for a lot of people, I've noticed. Like, they cannot, and it was me, that was me. Like, I could not understand that, like, you don't have to sit there and like, you literally just stare at a fucking wall. Like that's it. That's all you have to do. You just sit quietly with nothing. And even for people with like, who are neurotypical, like autism, ADHD, anything like that, it's the same thing, except it's a little bit easier for us because we have different channels. Like, different, yeah, and we have like different we can identify what's happening on the different channels. We can tune to different things back and forth at all times.
Mhm.
So it's just it
Jump
it
on
took
that one,
somebody, yeah, it took somebody being like, okay, dumbass, listen, sit down. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just do it.
Like I want to add to that on that neurospicy front. That has helped me figure out that imposter syndrome has zero place and that I'm not the fraud that I would like to think I am in my brain sometimes. I have no like imagination. So to come up with some of the shit that spirit has brought to me, there's no freaking way in a million years I could think of half of that. So it's been a lot of confirmation for me, knowing that it really is spirit and not just me making up stories in my head. So the neurospicy helps.
I think this should be a topic as well one day, just the neurodivergence and spirituality, how that connects.
Making notes.
Yeah, I agree, Shirley. That would be a good
Well,
one.
and how much of the imagination is just thought packets or visuals from spirit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Writing it down.
And sometimes that can be a struggle too, though, when you have very vivid imaginations. Suddenly it's like, wait, is this my imagination or is it spirit? And then,
Yeah.
that's fun to decipher.
I think that's why
I
practicing and doing it is so important, because one of those instances for me where I vividly saw a picture in my head was a reading with Tate. And there's no way I would have ever known any of that. We hadn't met prior. We just hooked up on the Discord one day and it popped into my head. And that's one time that I hold very close to myself to go, all right, you didn't make that up. You wouldn't have known anything.
I always do when I'm doing readings. Like I kind of like forewarn them, be like, I don't know if this makes literally any sense to you, but I'm just gonna lay it out there because I don't know. Like I would just say it. Like, does this pertain to you? And they say no. I'd be like, okay, moving on. That was my dumbass brain trying to make shit up. So like it doesn't. So be like, but there's some things that I'm just like, that is really random. So does this make sense to you? And they're like, oh my God, yeah. And I'm like, okay. All right.
Those ones always make me fangirl over spirit too. Where they're like, I'm like, I don't know why they're saying this. All I keep seeing is this flower or the number 17, and they start choking up, and I'm like, are you okay? Like, I didn't even get a chance to ask spirit about what that is yet. Are you all right? Like, oh God, did I break you? I totally get it. But Kaylee, on part of that, I don't mean to be a jerk, but sometimes people will straight up lie to you in session. And they'll be like, no, that doesn't pertain to me. And we're sitting there going, okay, fine.
It's when they keep bringing it up. They keep, nope. And it's reoccurring. And you're like, they really are very specific about this. It's like, I had one that was a reading and I kept bringing up a line. She's like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't pertain. And I was like, okay, but this is the 6th time this person has said it. So it has to do with something. There's been multiple occasions where they're like, no, doesn't ring a bell. Like, I don't know. It's weird that people would lie about.
I tend to say to spirit, all right, and I'll straight up do it in front of my client too. I'll say, they're saying this doesn't make any sense. Why are you bringing this up? I will hold people, but that's the thing. You know what you're getting when you get a spiritual reading with me and a psychic reading. You know I am blunt, I'm wicked honest, and I am not that bitch. I am this bitch. And this bitch says we are 100% going to look at everything they bring up and get answers for it. Because I'm at the point where I'm like, do I even have an imagination anymore? Like, I try to create something, like draw a picture, do painting. I got nothing. I got nothing in the chamber. It's just dead air. I'm like, is it even me up there anymore? Is it all spirit now? I don't know. I don't know.
I'll do that. I'll go, hey, was that me or was that you? If it was you, you got to bring it back because I wasn't paying attention.
Even
And they're all like,
Yes.
that's a you problem.
even setting up my office, I was talking to Sharon about like, I don't know how this is going to go. And like, I'm flipping back and forth about how everything is, where the furniture is going to go. It really just came down to, I took a breath and spirit was like, that's going to go there. This is going to go here. And like the couch that I have in here was on freaking Facebook Marketplace and they had it there for like months. There's nothing wrong with this couch. It's been sat on like a dozen times, they said. I'm like, fine. The chair came from my mom. My mom was like, I have a chair for you and rugs and there's no way I could have created on my own something that looks this peaceful, this beautiful, and functions like it does, the way it flows on my own. Because when I was thinking about it on my own, I had the desk over there and that would not have worked at all. Not even a little bit. So there's definitely part of me that's, you know, when you start talking to spirit so much through the day.
I literally just got in my head, that's the autopilot you're all talking about or asking for.
Oh yeah, that's the
That's the autopilot
Totally.
that you all are asking for.
Oh, lane assist.
lane assist engaged. I feel like I'm gonna use that now.
Right.
Like there's my lane assist. How we all feeling?
Really good.
We came to the end of the hour. We did this. We talked for an
It's been
entire
awesome.
hour. I just want to say thank you to you all so much. Thank you, Spencer, Tiffany, Sharon, especially since this is her baby. Charity, Shirley, Kaylee, Jessica, Jenny. Thank you guys all so freaking much. And if you want to, I'll add all of your contact information, especially those who are active readers and want to take questions from everyone. I love you guys. Thank you for making the first Sweet Release Healing podcast, the round table, a success. This was so much fun. This was so much fun.